She wrote to me recently and said the health insurance coverage for myself and my two daughters are showing to be $1,500 a month, enough to actually make a mortgage payment. Or else I'm saying, you know what, I think my kid's got a broken bone, but I can't go to the hospital. I can't afford it. I can't go to the doctor. I can't afford it, country. And why shouldn't we just exempt all health care from taxes? We did no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime earlier this year. How about no taxes on health care?
Whoa, that moment hit differently. Senator Hawley didn't just read dry statistics, he brought the real human cost of America's healthcare crisis right into the hearing room. Hearing that mother say her monthly premiums are basically a mortgage payment and imagining parents having to skip the ER because they can't afford the bill, that's the reality for millions. But then he drops the bomb. Why not just make all healthcare tax-free? A proposal that simple, that radical, is exactly why this clip went viral. We're going to break down his argument and see the experts' stunned reactions.
Senator Hawley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for calling this hearing. Thanks to all of the witnesses for being here. I just want to start with the numbers that I think are absolutely unbelievable. The cost of health insurance, the increase in health insurance expenditures or health expenditures since 1960 is up. I think we've got a chart maybe over my shoulder here. Since 1960, there has been a 2,109% increase in the cost of health in the United States, healthcare spending. 2,109% increase. Today, Americans spend more on healthcare than on groceries or housing. I mean, this is extraordinary. More than on groceries or housing. 41% of adults in the United States have debt from medical expenses, and I noticed a recent Gallup report found that 31 million Americans borrowed money last year to pay for health care. 31 million Americans. I want to just add to some of the testimony that's been offered here today by reading you something from a constituent of my state. This is a mother in my state of Missouri.
You can't argue with those numbers. A 2,190% increase since 1960 isn't just inflation, it's a systemic failure. The fact that healthcare is now a greater expense than housing or food for the average American is the textbook definition of a crisis. When the system forces nearly 1 in 2 adults into debt, this isn't a policy debate anymore. It's a moral emergency. He's building an irrefutable case for radical change before he even presents his idea.
And millions of Americans are saying that. On the subsidies, on the premium tax subsidies, let's just be honest. If we don't do something on this issue, if Congress does not take action on this issue in the next few weeks, this will be a crisis for 24 million Americans and counting. In my state, premiums are already going up by between 24 and 50%, depending on the healthcare plan, depending on the region of the state. I mean, so we are looking at a massive crisis unless Congress acts and acts soon. And my message is to the leadership of this body, to the leaders of the House, the leaders of the Senate, maybe it's time you all locked yourselves in a room and got to a solution here, because it's not going to be a solution in a couple of weeks to say, well, we just couldn't get it done. We couldn't think of anything, better luck next year. If that's the attitude that ends up being taken in this body, millions of Americans are going to go without health care coverage. And let's be honest, millions of Americans can't afford it now before we hit the cliff. So I think it's time to get serious here about the crisis that we are facing. We have got to take action on the subsidies. As I've said for months now, listen, I'm open to proposals. I'm open to any proposal that will keep the costs down, but we've got to take action. Doing nothing is not a solution. But
This is where Hawley goes from passionate advocate to political firebrand. He's drawing a clear line in the sand. If Congress does nothing on the subsidies, they're willingly allowing a crisis to hit 24 million people. His message to leadership, telling them to lock yourselves in a room, is the kind of aggressive rhetoric that cuts through the Washington noise. He's essentially saying, the time for white papers is over. The time for action is now. He's setting the stage for his own solution, emphasizing that doing nothing is not a solution.
But I have another suggestion to make, and it's a bill that a proposal I'd like to introduce, I am introducing today. In addition to taking action on subsidies, why shouldn't we make healthcare tax-free in this country? Why shouldn't we just exempt all healthcare from taxes? We did no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime earlier this year. How about no taxes on healthcare? If you pay premiums, you ought to be able to deduct that from your taxes. If you have out-of-pocket medical expenses, you ought to be able to deduct every dollar off of your taxes. You want to lower the cost of healthcare immediately? Do that. No taxes on healthcare. for any American. And you set an upper limit so you don't have rich people gaming the system. I get it, that's fine. But let's think about working people in this country who cannot afford health care. What if we said to them today, we're not going to tax your health care costs? Does anybody on the panel have a reaction to that? Let me start with you, Dr. Fagan. We'll just go down the panel. What do you think? No taxes on health care.
You know, it could work. You know, people are paying a lot for their health care. I think working people look for any advantage that they could get, but I'd have to look at it more in detail.
Ms. Strauss?
Simple answer is yes. Anytime you can get a savings on a tax deduction, absolutely, and especially something around healthcare.
Mr. White, any reaction?
Taxes increase costs, so eliminating them should lower costs. The people here especially affected are the self-employed, and they have to itemize up to 7.5% of their income in order to get the same tax benefit that a big company can get.
And there it is, the idea that stopped the hearing. No taxes on healthcare. It's a simple, powerful, and very political proposal. What's fascinating is the panel's reaction. They weren't shocked into silence. They were largely supportive. They immediately saw the core benefit. It helps the self-employed and working-class Americans who don't benefit from huge corporate tax breaks on health plans. Making it an above-the-line deduction, meaning you don't have to itemize, is a huge technical detail that would genuinely help millions of everyday people. Hawley is painting this as a fight for the working family, not just a tax code tweak.
So what you're talking about is equalizing, leveling the playing field for everyone.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That makes sense.
That's exactly right. Instead of 7.5%, and you have to itemize, let's move it above the line. Let's say that you can take that deduction, no matter if you're itemizing or not. Very few people itemize, and let's allow them to take the deduction on the first dollar. I mean, that would lower healthcare costs for millions and millions of Americans. I think it's something that we should seriously consider. I am out of time, I guess.
You are. You are out of time.
I am out of time.
Senator Hookenberg.
So what does this hearing tell us? It confirms what most of us already know. The American healthcare system is profoundly broken, forcing families to choose between a broken bone and a mortgage payment. That level of desperation is what fuels Senator Hawley's impassioned, almost frantic speech. His proposal to make healthcare tax-free is certainly dramatic, but it's a focused attempt to bring immediate, tangible relief to the people he keeps highlighting. The Missouri mother, the self-employed small business owner, the working parents. It's an approach rooted in tax reform, aiming to correct the bizarre incentive structure we have, where big corporations get huge tax breaks on health plans, but the average family or individual buying their own insurance gets virtually nothing. As Mr. White said on the panel, it's about leveling that playing field. I want to know what you think. Is a tax-free healthcare system the immediate relief America needs, or is it just a temporary fix for a problem that requires a total overhaul? Let me know your thoughts on this entire debate in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more breakdowns.